Have you guys ever wondered why hurricanes look like turbine engines? Has anyone ever paid attention to the circular patterns of the wind that these quote unquote hurricanes bring? Now, for those of you that don't know what a turbine engine looks like, I'm gonna show you. Look, gang, this is a turbine engine, right? Notice the circular patterns, right? Also want you to notice how each blade within this fan appears to be a different length. Therefore, when it spins, right, it gives off this effect, just like a turbine engine where you have an array of blades, different sizes, that when the wind spins, it'll look like this, right? But let's take it a step further. They lied to us about the Wright brothers. Them fools did not create flight. Flight was already here before the white man's existence. If you look into these museums, if you look into these old buildings and you see pillars like this is a turbine engine. This information was copied from our ancestors of the past. And these huge places that we see housed aircraft that can fly. You see, they got in front of our elementary school learning, fundamental learning. They got ahead of it and they taught us lies. Because if we had fundamental knowledge of aircrafts like this, we would start to understand what may be hidden within our own clouds, that may be hidden within our own sight. But I want to dive into turbine engines just a little bit, right? The spinner cone, which is that spiral cone within that turbine engine, right? Stationary component at the center of the large fan at the front of the turbine fan engine has several important functions. The spinner diverts oncoming air from the center of the intake towards the spinning fan blades. This prevents stagnation and helps maintain a smooth, non-turbulent flow of air over the hub of the blades. Hurricane, to me, resembles this cone that is in the turbine engine. And it makes a lot of sense that the eye is the calmest part of the hurricane and the outer walls of the hurricane is the most destructive. Now, if you know anything about radio waves, right? The wind, the solid, all of that has to be in a constant in order to continuously project the same image that they quote unquote project on these radars. Looking outside, right? When it rains, it eventually stops. It doesn't rain all day. When the wind is blowing, the wind doesn't blow all day. The elements are shifting, right? But during hurricane season, this wind and this rain is at a constant. Why? For that hurricane to give off a radio echo back to the radar that is picking up, the energy source has to be at a constant. The only constant wind, the only constant object that is in that relative location would have to be an aircraft. This aircraft, right, if you know anything about clouds, aircrafts create clouds. The exhaust at that high altitude produces clouds. If there is a aircraft big enough with a big enough turbine engine facing downwards and turned on, it could theoretically look like this. And that same engine could hide itself, right, by the exhaust that it kicks off to even start this engine. And so when you hear lightning and thunder, you will realize in 2025 that lightning and thunder do not coexist. Because if you've seen my pages before they scrubbed my page, I showed you lightning that doesn't make a sound, or thunder without lightning. My guess to that is thunder is the engines in the sky cranking up like an engine. If you guys have ever been around an airplane and heard the turbine engines crank up, and then when you realize that right after you hear the thunder, that rain starts coming and it's all slanted, right? It could be because it's being blown from a turbine engine that's causing the rain to come down slanted. Because what did our ancestors see that they're trying to hide from us today?